My Mark Meets guest in 1 minute's time is the Coronation Street actor Charlie Lawson. Can't wait for that. But also in my news agenda with my panel this hour, we're talking about the collapse of the McCall newsagent chain. Very sad news for the high street. But does it also mean that we're getting all of our essentials from small supermarkets instead? Has Britain fallen out of love with the newsagent? What's your view? Mark at gbnews.uk. Plus, is the Queen right to banish Prince Harry from the balcony during her Jubilee celebrations? Plus, we've got another great British game show coming up. Celebrity Babies, can you recognise them? Lots to get through. But it's time now for Mark Meets, in which I speak to the biggest names in the world of politics, sport, showbiz, business and beyond. Tonight, legendary Coronation Street actor Charlie Lawson. Born in Enniskillen, County Fermanagh in Northern Ireland, Charlie Lawson was educated at Campbell College, a grammar school in Belfast, before heading to London and training as an actor at the Guildhall School of Music and Drama. A long career followed, including appearances in 3 motion pictures and over 20 major TV productions, including Doctors, Bread, The Bill, Rosemary and Thyme, Harry's Game, 4 Days in July, the list goes on. But of course it was when he landed the role of Jim McDonald in Coronation Street that his life changed forever. He first appeared on the street in 1989 and remained a character on Britain's best-loved soap for over a decade. This is a man who's never short of acting roles or indeed opinions. He's been vocal about the pandemic and much more besides, including extreme political correctness or so-called woke politics. This guy hasn't got a woke bone in his body. I'm delighted to say that the highly talented and popular actor Charlie Lawson joins me now. Hi, Charlie.
How you doing, Mark? I've been wanting to talk to you for a while, big man.
It's great to have you on the programme. Listen, it's Friday night. You should be in the pub, shouldn't you?
You know, this is what you call dedication to GB News, Mark. Now, you see, my pub is literally about 50 yards down past my back door. I've got a German Shepherd over there, and I've got a Parsons Jack Russell, and they're saying, "Daddy, why are we not in the boozer?"
Well, we'll try to get this done before last orders, Charlie. Let's talk about your amazing career. Charlie, why did you choose acting?
Oh, God, very long story, very short. I was actually working as a hotel groundsman in Dumfries and Galloway at the time, and sort of getting into trouble with various nefarious organisations and what have you of a loyalist colour. And then I sort of wised up a bit and decided that I wanted to try and, all of a sudden I decided I wanted to join the Royal Marines. A teacher who had taught me at Campbell and had been very patient with me. I was a very bad boy and I was made to join every society in the school. And one of them was the Dramatic Society, at which I was quite good. But I never gave it any more thought. And this guy, Robert, phoned me up. He says, "I hear you're thinking of joining the army or the Marines or whatever, or doing something stupid." He says, "I think you should audition for drama school." And he sent me down. I think he even paid the train fare, sent me down from Scotland to London, where I auditioned for all the top sort of 5, RADA, Central, Guildhall, Webber Douglas, etc., etc. And I was accepted at Guildhall after 3 days of auditions. And the rest is history. It changed my life, literally. Saved is a wee bit dramatic, but it certainly, my great friend and brother, sort of Neil Morrissey, says the same thing. If we hadn't had those 3 days of auditions at drama school, God knows where we would have ended up, you know.
A great-looking guy and also a fantastically gifted actor, but you had one other unique selling point, Charlie. You were from Northern Ireland with an unapologetic and wonderful Northern Ireland accent.
Yeah, I mean, the writers, God bless them, they hadn't a clue that this big lump from Belfast was going to turn up, you know what I mean? So all my scripts initially were all, they were all Mancunian, and it was very, very cumbersome to start with, but gradually I started to introduce the stuff, which me and Eamon Holmes had been used to for years, so we were. And, instead of saying good morning, we would be going, what about you? So I started dropping these in. And of course, the writers suddenly picked up and realised, but bless them, I think they had a big shock for the first, because they were 3 months ahead. So they didn't realise this guy from Belfast was going to show up, bless them. But they soon got the hang of it.
And how did your success as an actor go down at home? Were the community and were your family proud?
Yes, look, let's not beat about the bush. There are some people in Northern Ireland who don't like me or don't like Jim McDonnell. It's as simple as that. I've had about 50 of them on the internet tonight. So, but they wake up now and again and shout at me and then go back to sleep. Bless them. But the vast majority of people in Northern Ireland are extremely proud. Back in the day, we had an awful lot of bad news coming out of Northern Ireland, and indeed there were atrocities in England as well. It was a very dark place and a dark time, and the 90% of the people in Northern Ireland, especially Belfast, are desperately proud and were desperately proud, and because Dunbar hadn't come along at the time, or Nesbitt. So I was sort of one of the first after Jimmy Ellis, you know what I mean, Z cars and all that lot. So yeah, everybody was dead chuffed, and I go back all the time now, and as I said, the response is overwhelmingly very positive, and that's why I love it very much.
Well, Charlie, we're just going to fix the line to you because I'm hanging on every word, and we're going to be asking you about Northern Ireland, your wonderful mother country, as it were, and also about your acting career. Let's talk about how you actually got into Coronation Street. Did you audition?
Yeah, I can hardly hear you, Mark, but I'll do my best, son.
Did you audition?
In 1987, they came for me and asked me to join, and I was at the National Theatre, and I was very po-faced about the whole thing, Mark. I can tell you, as a lot of actors were in those days. I felt that I was a National Theatre player, and what in the name of Jesus did I want to go up to Manchester and join this bunch of oddballs? So I said no, and then 2 years later, they came back for me again and wanted me to join, and funnily enough, the day I was offered Corrie, the following afternoon I was offered a full-time role in The Bill. And it was one of those rare opportunities that an actor gets where he gets two cracking jobs with sort of like a year's contract. And anyway, so my agent and we talked to the James Bain, God rest his soul, the casting director up at Granada, and Mervyn, the producer. And they offered me a 2-year contract, which was unheard of in the time, and indeed pissed off a lot of the rest of the cast because they'd never heard of people being offered a 2-year contract. Excuse my French. Anyway, so that was the decision made, and the money was better as well. So off I went to Manchester, and the rest is, as they say, glorious history.
And you were a classically trained actor up until that point. You'd played movie roles, you'd been in TV, and you'd also been in theatre as well. How different was it working in a soap?
Say that again, Mark, son.
Tell me about working on Coronation Street, the culture of that production.
I'd done a lot of work before, as you say, and obviously it's nothing like theatre. But I think the thing was the shock to the system was that was the speed and what have you. And listen, in 1989, we had rehearsals and stuff. I mean, the kids now, they don't have rehearsals anymore or stuff. So the times I've been back, it's been even quicker. But I think the strange thing for me was that was the sort of, in those days, the ladies in Corrie were stars. I mean, let's face it, we only had 4 channels and they were stars. And by God, they let you know you were stars, and they shall remain nameless, so they shall. But it was quite a shock to the system, all these people pouncing about in fancy dress and all this sort of carry on. I mean, they were all lovely, but... and then, of course, the fame bit comes in, and every skeleton I had in the cupboards, of which there were very many, they all appeared and came jumping out to smack me in the teeth. And, of course, the fame was brilliant because... I'm a horse racing man, and I was being invited to the horse races, and I was partying all night. There was 4 years of me doing curry. I don't remember a damn thing about it. But contrary to what anybody might say, I was never late. And I never let anybody down. I just partied and worked my ass off. So it was work hard and play hard, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And contrary to what some people have written, I never battled anything. I never battled any booze or anything else. I was just having a brilliant time. And I went on really for 11 years with the lovely Beverly, and she was very patient, bless her, and because we worked very different ways. And then Bev left, and I decided that I felt that the writers were getting bored with the character, and I was getting bored with the writing. So we all shook hands, and I've been back 9 times since. So it's all worked terribly well.
Would you return to Coronation Street? Is your character still alive?
Yes, look, I would be delighted. I spoke to Ian McLeod, the producer, who, contrary to many producers in television, has kept in touch, and that's a great credit to him, because most of them just elbow you out the door and you never hear from them again. But I speak to Ian a couple of times a year. I know that he was good. A couple of months ago, he was, he was very positive. But it's largely not down to him. It's down to the writers. And I said to Ian, I would love to come back. Of course I would. But I totally understand where we are as a society at the moment, and where, you have to try and work out where Jim McDonald would fit in. And I totally get that, because the last thing you want to do is bring him back with his nuts cut off. He's got to come back as the man he was, so to speak. But which was highly politically incorrect and just a straight talking ex-soldier. Well, you know yourself, Mark, television has changed over the last 3 years radically, and there's so many boxes you have to tick and so many things you can't do or can't say or anything else. God help us all. And so I understand that for the writers, it's a harder job than it was bringing back a character like Jim, because of the days we live in now. Much as I can't stand the bloody nonsense that goes on now, I do understand that it makes life more difficult for the writers.
It's crazy that TV is now too woke for an iconic character like Jim McDonald. What would you like to do in the future as an actor, Charlie? What's next for you?
Well, what's next is to finish off a documentary which we started about ex-servicemen in Northern Ireland and PTSD. The producers have been tearing their hair out trying to get it off the ground, but it's been difficult. So that's as far as I'm concerned the next thing. I've written my autobiography, which is now with a literary agent. So I'm now starting to edit that and phone up lawyers and God knows what, because it'll be quite a read. I've had a bit of a life, so I have, and it's all in there. So I'm waiting, just sifting through that. But aside from that, Mark, our industry, never mind on its knees, was completely reduced to rubble, and I don't say that lightly. And so we're now slowly getting back to our feet. But as you'll know, the West End is still being hit by closures. Television is waking up slowly, but it's very difficult for insurance, for small filmmakers and small TV companies. It's all right if you're doing Line of Duty at the BBC, because you've got a budget the size of the Empire State Building. But for small independents, it's very difficult and times are hard. And I feel really sorry for the kids, the young folk, who work in the West End, the chorus, the dancers, the hoofers, all that lot. They used to rely on working in bars and stuff, and all that disappeared. And a lot of them lost their houses and stuff. Old farts like me, we were all right because we'd been around a bit and had a bit of a checkbook, you know what I mean? But it was hard, so it was as well. Fortunately, I got my phone hacking case settled, so I had some pocket money. But, for 2 years, I did about, it was really difficult. I mean, I did work, I did do a few jobs here and there, but normally I never stop. So it's been a very bad time for all of us, and I hope that people have learned that there's only a few of us get paid a decent lot. If some people knew that our equity minimum was as low as it was, you might think again about how tough it is for actors. And I realise we're not the best, we're not the most important industry in Britain, but we are right up there. I mean, we bring in more money than football does, for God's sake. So anyway, we'll just hope for the best and kick on. I've been doing this 42 years, and a wee bloody virus like the common cold, and I don't say that lightly, folks, but a wee virus isn't going to put me off.
A final thought, just on political correctness generally. The outgoing chief of the Royal Shakespeare Company has said that only disabled actors should play the role of Richard III. What's your view on that?
Well, my view would be this, that if you find an actor who can play Richard III, who's good enough, then he should play it. If you have an actor who suffers from a handicap, or I don't even know whether you're allowed to say that anymore, to be honest with you. But, I think it should be down to the ability. I have no... Look, if Hamlet wants to be, I think Frances Tonelty or Frankie de la Tour did it years ago, a woman playing Hamlet, I don't give a monkeys. You know what I mean? It should be the quality of the performance that it's what it's all about. You know what I mean? But it's all going daft. I mean, Mark, I was listening to the news yesterday, and Cambridge University, the seat of learning and thought, and Cambridge University are now saying that they have to put a warning on the inside cover of a book called Little House on the Prairie, for God's sake. You know what I mean? In case people find it offensive. I mean, I despair. It's a good job. I've said to your old pal Kevin O'Sullivan on the opposition there, it's a good job it's not 1939, isn't it?
Yeah. You're right. We'll be burning books next. We won't be burning your autobiography. I can't wait to get hold of a copy of your book. Will you come into the studio and tell us all about it?
Yes, I will, of course. It's like all these things. We all think that it's the best book in the world. And my literary agent, John, bless him, said, Charlie, look, you do have to cut it down a bit. So we're working on that. But it's a bloody good read, Mark, I'll tell you. I'd forgotten, and I kept a diary for my early years, so that wasn't a problem going back and all that. So it goes right back to the start and finishes in 2018. So, yeah, I'll come down and talk to you about it. Don't you worry your head.
We'd love to have you. We'll organise a couple of beers as well so that you're not missing the pub. It's been such a joy to have you on the programme, Charlie. You know I'm your #1 fan. The amazing actor. He's done everything. Theatre, movies, Coronation Street, you name it. Charlie Lawson. And the story very much continues. Brilliant stuff.